Get out. That's what Dave Hill screamed on the driving range before throwing punches at J.C. Snead. But this wasn't a one-off moment of anger. For years, Dave Hill had been picking fights with players, fans, and the PGA Tour itself. His talent was undeniable, but his mouth was unstoppable. This is the story of how one of golf's most gifted players destroyed his own career through pure stubbornness. Dave Hill was born in Jackson, Michigan, where he grew up on a farm. This background would later fuel his most famous insult in golf history. He started as a caddy at age 10 and began playing golf at 11. The game came naturally to him. He played for the University of Detroit golf team before turning professional in 1958. Success came quickly for the young golfer. In 1961, just 3 years after turning pro, Hill won his first PGA Tour event at the home of the Sun Open in a playoff. Later that same year, he claimed his second title at the Denver Open. These early wins showed that Hill had real talent. Over his career, he would rack up 13 PGA Tour victories and represent the United States in 3 Ryder Cups. Hill's farm upbringing gave him a unique perspective on golf courses. He understood land and agriculture in ways that other players didn't. This knowledge would make his criticism of courses feel authentic, even when it was brutal. But Hill's personality was already causing problems. He earned the nickname the Don Rickles of golf for his quick wit and biting sarcasm. He constantly made outspoken comments against the golfing establishment. The warning signs were there early. In 1963, Hill angrily broke his putter on national television after being warned by an official. The PGA suspended him for 5 tournaments. In 1969, his entry to a tournament was rejected after he swore at a tour official. Hill often led the tour in fines. He was building a reputation as someone who couldn't control his temper or his mouth. Hill's peak year came in 1969. He won 3 tournaments and earned the prestigious Varden Trophy for the lowest scoring average on the PGA Tour at 70-34. He was also remarkably consistent, finishing in the top 60 money winners for 16 straight years from 1960 to 1976. Hill knew he was a superior ball striker. He once told a golf writer, "I felt like I had more shots in my bag than 90% of anybody that played out there. A little old lady, 90 years old, can putt. I want to see her hit a high cut with a 2-iron. But Hill's confidence in his shot making couldn't mask his biggest weakness. Despite his numerous victories, a major championship always escaped him. He played in 15 U.S. Opens, 12 Masters, and 12 PGA Championships. His closest call came at the 1970 U.S. Open at Hazeltine, where he finished second, 7 shots behind Tony Jacklin. Hill himself knew what held him back. He said he played well enough, but never putted well enough. Even supreme skill in ball striking couldn't make up for weak putting under major championship pressure. The 1970 U.S. Open at Hazeltine became the defining moment of Hill's controversial career. Despite his strong second-place finish, his performance was completely overshadowed by his comments about the course. After the second round, Hill delivered his most famous quote. He said the course lacked 80 acres of corn and a few cows to be a good farm, and declared, "They ruined a good farm when they built this place." Hill's criticism wasn't random insults. His farm background gave weight to his words. He complained that the course was too young, with too many blind shots, and an excessive number of doglegs. But fans didn't care about his expertise. They reacted with fury. Initially, they wanted to kill him and greeted him with moos and cowbells throughout the tournament. By the third round, Hill noticed the crowd was split 50-50. Surprisingly, Hill claimed the controversy helped his game. He said it made him play harder and concentrate better. While he expressed some regret for potentially hurting the club's membership, he firmly believed his comments were the truth. The PGA fined him $150, but Hill never backed down from his stance. The Hazeltine incident had an unexpected ending. Hill was later invited back to work with golf course architect Robert Trent Jones on changes to all 18 holes. This invitation came specifically because of his earlier criticism. Hill eventually acknowledged that Hazeltine turned out to be a hell of a golf course. His brutal honesty had actually led to improvements, proving that his criticism had value. But the damage to Hill's reputation was already done. His clashes with authority only got worse. At the 1971 Colonial National Invitation, after missing the cut, He tossed his ball out of a greenside bunker and was disqualified for signing an incorrect scorecard. When the PGA fined him $500 for conduct unbecoming a professional golfer, Hill responded by filing a $1 million lawsuit against the PGA Tour. He later increased it to $3 million before settling out of court. Hill's contentious nature followed him everywhere. In 1971, he had verbal clashes with Peter Thomson in Australia that created a Cold War atmosphere on the course. They refused to shake hands. The pattern was clear. Hill couldn't stop picking fights with fellow professionals and tour officials. Even years later, Hill's anger hadn't cooled. At the 1991 Trans-America Senior Golf Championship, he got into a physical fight with J.C. Snead on the driving range. The altercation involved yelling, club grabbing, punching, and wrestling. Other players and caddies had to separate them. Hill was 54 years old and still couldn't control his temper. By the mid-1970s, Hill began reducing his playing schedule due to knee and back problems. By 1981, feeling unhappy with his game and burned out on tour, he announced his departure from full-time play. His last regular PGA Tour appearance came in 1987. After years of fighting with everyone, Hill had worn himself out. But Hill's competitive spirit wasn't finished. After a 9-year break from competitive golf, he joined the Senior Tour in May 1987. His return was remarkably successful. He won his first senior victory just months later at the Fairfield Barnett Senior Classic in November 1987. He went on to claim 6 Senior Tour titles, with his last win in 1989. On the Senior Tour, Hill also found his closest friendship in golf. He teamed up with fellow golf legend Lee Trevino, and their partnership was incredibly successful. Both were military veterans who shared a unique bond. They won either 4 or 5 titles together at the Liberty Mutual Legends of Golf tournament. This friendship showed a different side of Hill. Despite his reputation for conflict, he could form strong relationships with people who understood him. In 1977, Hill co-authored his memoir, Teed Off, with Nick Seitz. The book offered a behind-the-scenes look at professional golf in the 1960s and 1970s. Hill didn't hold back in his memoir. He discussed sex, marriage, gambling, cheating, and the personal lives of professional athletes. The book covered topics like fines, tour structure, caddies, and relationships with other players. Readers praised Hill's honesty about all aspects of professional golf. Hill's contributions to golf were eventually recognized. He was inducted into the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame in 1973 and the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame in 1985. Back home in Michigan, he was remembered as someone who put Jackson golf on the map and inspired a lot of people to take up the game. He was considered one of Michigan's greatest players. Dave Hill died in 2011 at age 74 after battling emphysema for several years. His passing was confirmed by his brother Mike Hill, who was also a former PGA Tour player and Michigan Golf Hall of Fame inductee. Hill himself predicted how he would be remembered. He said he would more than likely be remembered more for his Hazeltine quote than for his career, primarily because he never won a major. Decades later, his prediction proved correct. Despite 13 PGA Tour wins, people still quote his farm comment about Hazeltine. Dave Hill's career shows how talent alone isn't enough for lasting success. His 13 victories, Varden Trophy, and multiple Ryder Cup appearances prove he was an elite player. His reputation as a master shot maker was well earned, but his refusal to play politics and his constant fights with authority cost him dearly. Hill's story reveals the tension between individual authenticity and institutional conformity. He consistently chose to speak his truth, even when it hurt his career and cost him money. His controversial critique of Hazeltine ultimately helped improve the course, showing that his voice had value, but his inability to control his temper and his need to challenge everyone around him prevented him from reaching his full potential. In the end, Dave Hill was a gifted golfer whose passion for the game was matched only by his talent for self-destruction. His legacy proves that sometimes being right isn't enough if you can't learn when to stay quiet.